Hello and welcome back to the Mindful Zone. I'm so glad you're here today. Whether this is your first time visiting or you've been with us for a while, know that this space is created just for you. A place where we can slow down, breathe deeply, and explore ways to live more mindfully, kindly, and intentionally. Today we're diving into a topic that touches the very core of our lives, family. Now, when I say family, I don't just mean blood relatives, they're certainly included. Family can also be those closest to us, the people we share our homes and hearts with, the ones who shape our days and influence our journeys. And let's face it, family life isn't always easy. It comes with its fair share of challenges, misunderstandings, and even frustrations. But it's also one of the most profound sources of love, growth, and connection. What if I told you there's a way to transform not only your relationships with your loved ones, but also your entire outlook on life? That's exactly what we'll uncover today through the teachings of Buddhism, meditation, and mindfulness. These ancient practices aren't about perfection, they're about presence. They invite us to show up fully in every moment, especially in the moments that matter most. Now, before we go any further, take a moment to settle into this space with me. Sit comfortably wherever you are. Maybe close your eyes for a few seconds. Breathe in deeply, hold it, and now exhale. Slowly. Let's do that again. Inhale, hold, and exhale. Beautiful. Feel yourself becoming more grounded, more present. This is the energy we'll carry with us as we move forward together. Throughout this video, we'll explore how treating your family well, not out of obligation, but from a place of genuine care and understanding, can ripple outward and transform your life in ways you might not expect. We'll talk about practical tools like mindfulness exercises, meditative practices, and timeless wisdom from Buddhist teachings. These aren't abstract concepts, they're actionable steps you can start using today. And don't worry if you're new to all of this. You don't need to have years of experience with meditation or philosophy to benefit from what we're sharing here. Everything we discuss will be accessible, relatable, and designed to meet you where you are right now. At the same time, if you're already familiar with these ideas, my hope is that you'll find fresh insights and renewed inspiration to deepen your practice. So, whether you're watching this because you want to strengthen your relationships, reduce stress, or simply bring more peace into your daily life, you're in the right place. Together, we'll create a roadmap for cultivating harmony at home and within yourself. Are you ready? Wonderful. Let's begin this journey of transformation, one mindful step at a time. Chapter 1: The Power of Family Connections. Our families are the foundation upon which much of our lives are built. They are the first relationships we form, the first voices we hear, and often the first hands that guide us into the world. These bonds shape who we are, our values, our habits, even the way we interact with others outside the home. Yet, despite their profound importance, family relationships can sometimes feel like a source of tension, frustration, or exhaustion. Why does this happen? And more importantly, how can we nurture these connections so they become sources of strength, joy, and transformation? To answer these questions, let's take a step back and reflect on the deeper meaning of family. In Buddhism, there's a beautiful teaching about interconnectedness. Nothing exists in isolation, not people, not actions, not even thoughts. Every word you speak, every gesture you make ripples outward and affects those around you. This is especially true in the context of family. When you treat your loved ones with kindness, patience, and understanding, you create a positive feedback loop. Your actions inspire similar behavior in return, fostering an environment of mutual respect and care. But here's the thing, cultivating such an environment isn't always easy. Life gets busy, responsibilities pile up, misunderstandings arise. Before we know it, we're caught in cycles of reactivity rather than connection. Have you ever found yourself snapping at a family member over something trivial? Or feeling distant because you were too preoccupied with your own worries to truly listen? If so, you're not alone. These moments happen to all of us. What matters most is how we choose to respond when they occur. One powerful tool for improving family dynamics comes from Buddhist teachings, metta, or loving-kindness meditation. Metta is the practice of cultivating unconditional love and compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves as well. It begins with recognizing that everyone wants to be happy, safe, and free from suffering. Sounds simple, right? But think about how transformative this mindset can be in challenging situations. Instead of reacting defensively during a disagreement, what if you paused and silently wished for the other person's well-being? May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be at peace. These phrases may seem small, but their impact can be enormous. Here's how you can incorporate metta into your daily routine. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Begin by directing loving kindness toward yourself. Silently repeat phrases like, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe. Once you feel grounded, extend these wishes to someone in your family. Picture them clearly in your mind. Imagine their face, their voice, their presence. Then direct the same sentiments toward them. May you be happy, may you be healthy, may you be safe. You can expand this practice to include other family members, friends, colleagues, even people you find difficult to get along with. Over time, metta softens your heart and helps you approach interactions with greater empathy and understanding. Now, mindfulness doesn't have to stop at formal meditation. It's also about being fully present in everyday moments. Consider something as ordinary as mealtime. How often do we rush through meals without truly connecting? We scroll through our phones, watch TV, or mentally replay stressful events from the day. But what if instead we used mealtime as an opportunity to connect, put away distractions, focus on sharing the experience, ask open-ended questions, share stories, laugh together? These small acts of presence build trust and deepen bonds. Another key aspect of fostering strong family ties is recognizing the impermanence of life. In Buddhism, impermanence is both a challenge and an opportunity. On one hand, it reminds us that everything changes, including the people we love. Our parents grow older, our children grow up, friendships evolve, time moves forward, whether we're ready for it or not. On the other hand, impermanence encourages us to cherish the present moment, rather than postponing connection for some distant future. Let me share a personal story to illustrate this point. A few years ago, I was deeply entrenched in my career. Work consumed most of my waking hours, and I often justified my absence by telling myself, I'll spend more time with my family later. One evening, my partner asked me to join them for dinner. I declined, citing yet another looming deadline. As they walked away, I felt a pang of guilt, but I brushed it aside, thinking, it's just one dinner. There will be plenty of opportunities later. Fast forward a few months and I realized how wrong I had been. My partner wasn't asking for grand gestures or extravagant plans. They simply wanted my presence. Those shared moments, whether it was a quiet dinner or a brief walk, were what mattered most. So I made a conscious decision to prioritize connection, however fleeting it might be. And guess what? Life became richer, lighter, and far more meaningful. Of course, treating your family well doesn't mean ignoring boundaries or suppressing your own needs. Healthy relationships require balance. Sometimes saying no is just as important as saying yes. What matters is doing so with kindness and clarity. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to communicate that. Say something like, I need a little space right now, but I value our time together and would love to reconnect soon. Honesty paired with compassion strengthens trust and prevents resentment from building up. As we continue exploring the power of family connections, let's delve a bit deeper into the concept of gratitude. Gratitude has the ability to transform even the most challenging relationships. When we focus on what we appreciate about our loved ones, it shifts our perspective. Instead of dwelling on their flaws or shortcomings, we begin to see their strengths and contributions. Try this exercise. Each day, write down one thing you're grateful for about each person in your household. It could be as simple as, "They always make me laugh," or "They remembered to take out the trash." At first, this might feel forced, especially if tensions are high, but stick with it. Over time, this practice builds connection and fosters positivity. And don't keep it to yourself. Share your gratitude openly. Tell your loved ones what you appreciate about them. Watch how this small act of acknowledgement strengthens your bond. Finally, let's talk about forgiveness. No relationship is perfect. Mistakes happen. Words are said in anger. Trust is broken, but holding on to grudges only weighs us down. Forgiveness isn't about excusing harmful behavior. It's about releasing the burden of resentment so you can move forward. In Buddhism, forgiveness is seen as a gift, not just to the other person, but to yourself. By letting go of past hurts, you create space for healing and growth. Here's a practical tip for practicing forgiveness. Whenever you feel hurt by a family member, pause and ask yourself, what might have caused them to act this way? Maybe they were stressed, tired, or dealing with their own struggles. This doesn't justify their actions, but it helps you understand them better. From there, you can decide whether to address the issue directly or simply release it and move on. Either way, forgiveness frees you from carrying unnecessary emotional baggage. As we wrap up this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Family isn't just about biology or cohabitation, it's about creating a sanctuary where everyone feels seen, valued, and loved. It's about showing up, not perfectly, but consistently, with kindness, patience, and presence. And when we treat our families well, we not only enrich their lives, we enrich our own. So tonight, before bed, take a few minutes to reflect on someone in your family. Think about one thing they did recently that brought you comfort, joy, or support, even if it seemed minor at the time. Tomorrow, tell them about it. Watch how this small act of acknowledgement strengthens your bond, because ultimately the power of family lies not in perfection but in effort, intention, and love. Chapter 2: Understanding Stress and its Impact on Relationships. Stress. It's a part of life, isn't it? Whether it's work deadlines, financial pressures, health concerns, or the endless to-do lists that pile up, stress has a way of creeping into our lives and taking root. But what happens when stress spills over into our relationships, especially with the people we love most? How does it affect the way we communicate, connect, and care for one another? And more importantly, how can mindfulness and Buddhist principles help us manage stress so that it doesn't erode the bonds we hold dear? Let's start by acknowledging something fundamental. Stress is not inherently bad. In small doses, it can motivate us to take action, meet challenges head-on, and grow stronger in the process. The problem arises when stress becomes chronic, overwhelming, and unmanaged. When this happens, it doesn't just harm our physical and mental health, it also damages our relationships. Have you ever noticed how stress makes you irritable, impatient, or withdrawn? Maybe you snap at your partner over something minor, like forgetting to unload the dishwasher. Or perhaps you find yourself zoning out during conversations with your kids because your mind is racing with worries about tomorrow. These reactions aren't signs of weakness, they're natural responses to an overloaded system. But left unchecked, they create distance between us and the people we care about most. In Buddhism, there's a concept called dukkha, often translated as suffering or unsatisfactoriness. Dukkha refers to the inherent difficulties of existence, the struggles, frustrations, and imperfections that are part of being human. While dukkha cannot be entirely avoided, Buddhism teaches us that we have the power to transform our relationship with it. Instead of resisting or denying our stress, we can learn to observe it, understand it, and respond to it with wisdom and compassion. This shift in perspective is key to managing stress in a way that protects, not harms, our relationships. So, how do we begin? Let's start with awareness. Mindfulness, the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment, is one of the most effective tools for managing stress. When we're mindful, we notice what's happening within us before it spills out into our interactions with others. For example, imagine you've had a tough day at work. You come home feeling tense and frustrated. Without mindfulness, you might lash out at your family members, projecting your stress onto them. But with mindfulness, you pause, you take a deep breath, you recognize the tension in your body and the frustration in your mind. By simply observing these sensations, you create space between stimulus and response. That space gives you the freedom to choose how to act rather than react impulsively. Here's a practical exercise to cultivate this kind of awareness. Whenever you feel stressed, try the stop technique. S. Stop whatever you're doing. T. Take a few deep breaths. Inhale slowly through your nose, hold it, and exhale gently through your mouth. Repeat this 3 times. O. Observe what's happening inside you. Notice any physical sensations, emotions, or thoughts. Are your shoulders tight? Is your heart racing? Do you feel anger, sadness, or overwhelm? Simply name these experiences without judgment. P. Proceed with intention. Ask yourself, what's the kindest, most constructive way I can respond right now? This simple practice can be done anywhere, anytime, and it works wonders for diffusing stress before it escalates. Now let's talk about communication, one of the areas most affected by stress. When we're stressed, our ability to communicate clearly and kindly diminishes. We may say things we don't mean, raise our voices unnecessarily, or shut down entirely. All of these behaviors damage trust and intimacy in relationships. Mindful communication offers a way to break this cycle. At its core, mindful communication involves listening deeply and speaking authentically. It requires us to be fully present with the other person, setting aside distractions and assumptions. Imagine a scenario where your child comes to you after school, excited to share a story about their day. If you're distracted, checking your phone, thinking about dinner, or replaying stressful events from earlier, you miss an opportunity to connect. But if you put everything else aside, look them in the eye, and truly listen, you validate their experience and strengthen your bond. Similarly, when you need to express your own feelings, mindfulness helps you do so calmly and respectfully. Instead of blurting out accusations like, "You never help around the house," you can frame your words constructively. "I've been feeling overwhelmed lately, and it would mean a lot to me if we could work together on household chores." Another powerful tool for reducing stress in relationships is self-compassion. Often when we're stressed, we direct harsh criticism inward. We berate ourselves for not doing enough, being enough, or achieving enough. This inner dialogue exacerbates our stress and makes it harder to show up as our best selves for others. Self-compassion flips the script. It invites us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd offer a close friend. Dr. Kristin Neff, a leading researcher on self-compassion, identifies 3 components: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. Self-kindness means replacing self-criticism with supportive language. Instead of saying, "I'm such a failure," try, "I'm doing my best and that's enough." Common humanity reminds us that everyone struggles. You're not alone in your challenges. They're part of the shared human experience. Mindfulness encourages us to acknowledge our pain without exaggerating or suppressing it. To practice self-compassion, try placing a hand on your heart or giving yourself a gentle hug. Then silently repeat phrases like, "May I be kind to myself. May I accept my imperfections. May I find peace in this moment." This simple act can soothe your nervous system and reduce the intensity of your stress. Of course, managing stress isn't just about individual practices. It's also about creating environments that support well-being. In many families, stress stems from external factors like cluttered spaces, chaotic schedules, or unresolved conflicts. Addressing these issues can make a world of difference. Start by decluttering your home. Even small changes like tidying up a single room can create a sense of calm and order. Next, establish routines that prioritize rest and connection. Set aside time each week for family activities, whether it's cooking a meal together, going for a walk, or playing games. Finally, address conflicts directly but gently. Use I statements to express your feelings. I felt hurt when, and actively listen to the other person's perspective. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of equanimity in navigating life's ups and downs. Equanimity doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Rather, it's about maintaining balance and perspective, even in difficult circumstances. One way to cultivate equanimity is through meditation. Find a quiet spot, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. As thoughts and emotions arise, observe them without attachment. Imagine them as clouds drifting across the sky. They come and go, but you remain steady and grounded. Over time, this practice builds resilience, helping you face challenges with greater calm and clarity. Let's also touch on the role of gratitude in mitigating stress. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. When we feel grateful, our bodies release oxytocin and serotonin, hormones associated with happiness and bonding. This physiological response reduces stress and fosters positive emotions. To integrate gratitude into your daily life, keep a journal where you write down 3 things you're thankful for each day. Make sure to include specific details. For instance, instead of writing, "I'm grateful for my family," elaborate, "I'm grateful for the laughter my daughter brought to dinner tonight." Sharing your gratitude with loved ones amplifies its impact. Tell your partner, "Thank you for making coffee this morning. It started my day off right." Watch how these small expressions of appreciation brighten everyone's mood. Finally, let's talk about the importance of boundaries. Boundaries are essential for protecting your energy and preventing burnout. They ensure that you have the resources needed to nurture your relationships without depleting yourself. Setting boundaries doesn't mean shutting people out. It means honoring your limits and communicating them clearly. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it's okay to say, "I need some quiet time to recharge." Or if someone consistently crosses your boundaries, address the issue calmly and assertively. "I value our relationship, but I need you to respect my need for space." Healthy boundaries foster mutual respect and prevent resentment from building up. As we conclude this chapter, I want to leave you with a reminder. Stress is inevitable, but suffering is optional. By cultivating mindfulness, practicing self-compassion, improving communication, and setting healthy boundaries, you can transform the way stress impacts your relationships. These tools won't eliminate challenges overnight, but they will equip you to navigate them with grace and resilience. Tonight before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one area where stress has affected your family dynamics and identify one step you can take to address it. Maybe it's committing to a daily mindfulness practice, expressing gratitude more openly, or initiating a conversation about boundaries. Whatever it is, remember that every effort counts, because ultimately the strength of our relationships lies not in avoiding difficulties but in facing them together with love, patience, and presence. Chapter 3. Practicing gratitude toward your family. Gratitude, it's a word we hear often, isn't it? We're encouraged to count our blessings, write thank you notes, or keep gratitude journals. But how many of us truly pause to reflect on the profound impact that gratitude can have, not just on our own lives, but on the relationships with those closest to us? Today, we're going to explore the transformative power of gratitude within the context of family. We'll delve into why gratitude matters, how it works as a tool for connection, and most importantly, how you can integrate it into your daily life in meaningful ways. Let's start by asking a simple question. What is gratitude, really? At its core, gratitude is the practice of recognizing and appreciating the good things in life, the people, experiences, and moments that bring us joy, comfort, or support. In Buddhism, gratitude aligns closely with the concept of dana, which refers to generosity of spirit. Dana isn't about material giving, it's about cultivating an attitude of abundance and appreciation. When we practice dana toward our families, we shift our focus from scarcity, "they never do enough," to sufficiency, "I am grateful for what they do." This subtle yet powerful mindset shift has the potential to transform not only how we see our loved ones, but also how we interact with them. Now let's be honest, practicing gratitude isn't always easy. Life gets messy, challenges arise. Sometimes it feels like there's very little to be thankful for. Perhaps you're dealing with unresolved conflicts, financial strain, or simply the weariness of daily routines. In these moments, gratitude might feel forced or insincere. But here's the thing, gratitude doesn't require perfection. It doesn't demand that everything in your life be perfect before you can appreciate anything at all. Instead, it invites you to find beauty and value in the imperfect, the ordinary, and even the difficult. Consider this analogy. Imagine standing in front of a painting. If you zoom in too closely, all you see are individual brushstrokes. Some uneven, some smudged, some unclear. But when you step back and view the entire canvas, the bigger picture emerges. Gratitude helps us step back from the chaos of daily life and see the larger patterns of love, care, and connection that exist within our families. Even amidst imperfection, there is goodness worth acknowledging. So, how do we begin practicing gratitude in a way that feels authentic and impactful? One approach is to start small. Think about someone in your household. Maybe it's your partner, your child, a sibling, or a parent. Now ask yourself, what did they do recently that made your day just a little bit easier or brighter? Perhaps they remembered to take out the trash without being asked, or maybe they shared a kind word when you were feeling down. These acts may seem minor, but they carry immense weight. By noticing and appreciating them, you reinforce positive behaviors and deepen your bond. Here's a practical exercise to help you cultivate gratitude. Each evening before bed, write down one thing you're grateful for about each person in your family. Be specific. For example, instead of writing, "I'm grateful for my partner," elaborate, "I'm grateful that my partner cooked dinner tonight despite having a long day." Or, "I'm grateful that my son helped his younger sister with her homework." Over time, this practice trains your mind to seek out the positives, even during challenging times, and creates a habit of appreciation. But don't stop at writing it down. Share your gratitude openly. Tell your loved ones what you appreciate about them. A heartfelt thank you can go a long way. Research shows that expressing gratitude boosts oxytocin levels, the hormone associated with bonding and trust. It also strengthens emotional resilience, making it easier to navigate conflicts or setbacks. So next time you notice something praiseworthy, vocalize it. Say, "Thank you for remembering to water the plants today. It means a lot to me." Or, "I really appreciate how patient you were with me earlier. I know I was stressed, and you handled it so well." Watch how these words soften tensions and create a ripple effect of kindness. Now let's talk about the deeper benefits of gratitude for both individuals and families. On an individual level, gratitude enhances mental health. Studies have shown that people who regularly practice gratitude experience lower rates of depression and anxiety. They report higher levels of happiness, optimism, and overall life satisfaction. Why? Because gratitude rewires our brains to focus on the positive rather than the negative. It shifts our default mode from criticism to celebration. Within families, gratitude fosters unity and cooperation. When everyone feels valued and appreciated, collaboration becomes natural. Tasks that once felt burdensome, like cleaning the house or running errands, become opportunities for teamwork. Conflicts that might otherwise escalate are resolved more peacefully because gratitude softens hearts and opens minds. Buddhist teachings offer additional insights into the role of gratitude in fostering harmony. In Buddhism, gratitude is seen as a form of reverence, not just for others, but for life itself. Every breath we take, every meal we eat, every moment we share with loved ones is a gift. Recognizing this truth cultivates humility and contentment. It reminds us that we are interconnected beings, dependent on one another for survival and fulfillment. To deepen your understanding of this perspective, try incorporating gratitude into your mindfulness practice. During meditation, visualize each member of your family. Picture their faces, their voices, their unique qualities. As you hold them in your awareness, silently repeat phrases like, "Thank you for being part of my life. Thank you for your love and support. Thank you for the lessons you teach me, even when they're hard." This practice not only strengthens your sense of connection, but also fills you with warmth and compassion. Another powerful way to practice gratitude is through rituals. Rituals provide structure and intentionality, making gratitude a consistent part of your routine. For example, consider starting a tradition of sharing gratitudes at the dinner table. Each person takes a turn saying one thing they're grateful for that day. This not only encourages reflection, but also creates space for meaningful conversation. Alternatively, you could establish a weekly gratitude jar. Write down moments of appreciation on slips of paper and place them in the jar. At the end of the month, gather as a family to read through the notes together. These shared experiences build memories and reinforce a culture of gratitude. Of course, practicing gratitude doesn't mean ignoring problems or pretending everything is fine when it's not. Authentic gratitude coexists with honesty. If there are issues that need addressing, it's important to tackle them directly, but with kindness and respect. For instance, if your teenager stays out past curfew, you can express both concern and gratitude. "I was worried about you last night, but I'm grateful that you came home safely." This balanced approach ensures that gratitude remains genuine rather than dismissive. Let's also touch on the role of forgiveness in nurturing gratitude. Often resentment blocks our ability to feel grateful. When we hold on to grudges, we focus on what went wrong rather than what went right. Forgiveness clears the path for gratitude to flow freely. In Buddhism, forgiveness is viewed as a release, a letting go of anger and bitterness so that peace can prevail. To practice forgiveness, reflect on any lingering hurts within your family. Ask yourself, what would it take for me to forgive this person? Then take steps toward reconciliation. This might involve apologizing, listening actively, or simply choosing to move forward without dwelling on the past. Finally, let's discuss the long-term effects of gratitude on family dynamics. Families that prioritize gratitude tend to thrive. They communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts more constructively, and celebrate achievements more joyfully. Children raised in such environments develop strong emotional intelligence and self-esteem. Adults benefit too, experiencing greater marital satisfaction and reduced stress. Gratitude becomes a cornerstone of the family identity, shaping how members relate to one another and to the world around them. As we wrap up this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it's a choice. It's a decision to look beyond frustrations and irritations and see the underlying goodness in those we love. It's a commitment to nurture relationships with care and intention, and while it won't erase challenges overnight, it will equip you to face them with greater grace and resilience. Tonight before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one person in your family whom you'd like to express gratitude toward. Write them a note, send them a message, or simply tell them tomorrow morning. Watch how this small act of acknowledgement ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey. Because ultimately, gratitude is the thread that weaves families together, not perfectly, but beautifully. Chapter 4. Active listening as a form of love. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt truly heard? Not just listened to, but deeply understood, like the other person was fully present with you, hanging on to every word, nodding thoughtfully and responding with genuine care. Chances are, those moments stand out because they're rare. In our fast-paced, multitasking world, active listening has become something of a lost art. Yet, it's one of the most powerful gifts we can give to our loved ones and ourselves. Today we're going to explore the transformative power of active listening within the context of family relationships. We'll examine why listening matters, how mindfulness enhances our ability to listen deeply, and practical strategies for becoming a better listener. Because when we listen actively, we don't just hear words, we honor emotions, validate experiences, and strengthen the bonds that hold us together. Let's begin by defining what active listening really means. At its core, active listening is about being fully present during conversations. It's not just about hearing sounds or processing information. It's about engaging with another person's thoughts, feelings, and intentions. This requires focus, patience, and empathy, all qualities cultivated through mindfulness practices. When we listen mindfully, we let go of distractions, judgments, and assumptions. Instead, we create space for authentic connection. Now here's the challenge. Many of us think we're good listeners, but if we're honest, we often fall short. How many times have you nodded along while your partner talked, only to realize later that you missed half of what they said because you were mentally rehearsing your response? Or maybe you've interrupted someone mid-sentence to share your own perspective before they finish theirs. These habits aren't malicious. They're human, but they erode trust and intimacy over time. Active listening flips the script. Instead of focusing on what we want to say next, we focus on what the other person needs to express. This shift transforms communication from transactional, I speak, then you speak, to relational, we connect. And in families where emotions run high and stakes are personal, this distinction makes all the difference. So, how do we cultivate active listening? Let's break it down step by step. The first key is presence. Presence means giving your undivided attention to the speaker. Put away your phone, turn off the TV, and face the person directly. Make eye contact, not in an intimidating way, but in a way that conveys warmth and attentiveness. Lean slightly forward to show interest. Nod occasionally to signal understanding. These non-verbal cues communicate, I'm here, I see you, I hear you. The second key is curiosity. Approach conversations with a mindset of discovery. Ask open-ended questions that encourage the speaker to elaborate. For example, instead of asking, did you have a good day, try, what stood out to you about today? Instead of jumping to conclusions, seek clarification. Say things like, can you tell me more about that? Or, help me understand how you're feeling. Curiosity demonstrates respect and validates the speaker's experience. The third key is reflection. Reflection involves paraphrasing what the speaker has said to ensure you've understood correctly. For instance, if your child says, I hate school, you might respond, it sounds like you're feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, is that right? This technique does two things. It shows the speaker that you're paying attention, and it gives them an opportunity to clarify or expand on their thoughts. Finally, there's validation. Validation doesn't mean agreeing with everything someone says. It means acknowledging their feelings as real and legitimate. For example, if your teenager expresses anger about a rule you've set, resist the urge to defend yourself immediately. Instead, say something like, I can see why you'd feel upset about that. It must be tough to deal with. Validation diffuses defensiveness and creates a safe space for dialogue. Now let's talk about the role of mindfulness in enhancing active listening. Mindfulness trains us to stay grounded in the present moment, which is essential for effective communication. When we're mindful, we notice distractions without letting them derail us. If your mind starts wandering during a conversation, gently bring your focus back to the speaker. Breathe deeply to anchor yourself. Practice observing your own reactions, whether it's irritation, impatience, or excitement, without acting on them impulsively. One powerful mindfulness exercise for improving listening skills is called the RAIN technique. RAIN stands for recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. Here's how it works. Recognize, notice when you're distracted or emotionally triggered during a conversation. Allow, accept these feelings without judgment. They're natural responses, but they don't have to control you. Investigate, explore what's beneath your reaction. Are you feeling defensive, overwhelmed, unheard? Understanding the root cause helps you respond more constructively. Nurture. Offer yourself compassion. Remind yourself that you're doing your best and that meaningful communication takes effort. By applying the RAIN technique, you develop greater self-awareness and emotional regulation, both of which enhance your ability to listen actively. Buddhist teachings also emphasize the importance of silence in fostering deep listening. Silence isn't empty, it's full of potential. When we embrace silence, we allow others to fill it with their truth. This is particularly valuable in family settings where members may hesitate to share vulnerabilities due to fear of judgment or dismissal. By creating space for quiet reflection, we invite honesty and openness. For example, imagine sitting down with your partner after a long day. Instead of launching into a monologue about your own stresses, start by simply saying, "How are you feeling tonight?" Then give them time to gather their thoughts. Resist the temptation to fill the silence prematurely. Often it's in these pauses that the most profound insights emerge. Another aspect of active listening worth exploring is body language. Non-verbal communication accounts for a significant portion of how messages are conveyed and received. Pay attention to your posture, facial expressions, and gestures. Do they convey openness and receptivity, or do they suggest disinterest or discomfort? Similarly, observe the other person's body language for clues about their emotional state. Are they fidgeting nervously, avoiding eye contact, crossing their arms defensively? These signals provide valuable context for interpreting their words. Active listening isn't limited to verbal exchanges, it extends to actions as well. Sometimes the most loving response isn't a verbal affirmation, but a supportive gesture. For instance, if your spouse mentions feeling overwhelmed by household chores, you could offer to take care of dinner without being asked. If your child seems anxious about an upcoming exam, you could sit quietly beside them while they study, offering moral support without interfering. These acts of attentive care reinforce the message, "I hear you and I'm here for you." Now, let's address a common misconception that active listening requires sacrificing your own voice. Some people worry that prioritizing others' perspectives means neglecting their own needs, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Active listening actually strengthens mutual respect and reciprocity. When you listen deeply to someone else, they're more likely to reciprocate when it's your turn to speak. Moreover, listening doesn't mean agreeing blindly. You can validate someone's feelings while still maintaining boundaries or expressing differing opinions. The goal is to foster understanding, not uniformity. To illustrate this point, consider a scenario where conflict arises. Perhaps your sibling criticizes a decision you've made and their tone feels harsh. Your instinct might be to retaliate or shut down, but what if instead you paused and said, "I can tell you're upset about this. Can you help me understand why?" By inviting them to explain their perspective, you demonstrate willingness to engage constructively. Even if you ultimately disagree, the act of listening builds trust and reduces hostility. Finally, let's discuss the ripple effects of active listening on family dynamics. Families that prioritize active listening tend to experience less conflict, deeper connections, and greater resilience. Children raised in such environments develop strong social-emotional skills, including empathy, self-regulation, and problem-solving. Adults benefit too, reporting higher levels of relationship satisfaction and reduced stress. Active listening becomes a cornerstone of the family culture, shaping how members relate to one another and navigate challenges together. As we conclude this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a challenge. Over the next week, commit to practicing active listening with at least one member of your family each day. Choose a time when you can give them your full attention, whether it's during breakfast, a walk, or bedtime. Focus on staying present, asking thoughtful questions, and validating their feelings. Afterward, reflect on how the interaction went. Did you learn something new about them? Did they seem more relaxed or engaged? What did you discover about yourself in the process? Remember, active listening isn't just a skill, it's an expression of love. When we listen deeply, we affirm the inherent worth of the speaker. We say, "Your voice matters, your feelings matter, you matter." And in doing so, we create a foundation of trust, respect, and belonging that sustains us through life's ups and downs. Tonight, before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one person in your family whom you'd like to listen to more attentively. Tomorrow, approach them with curiosity and compassion. Watch how this small act of presence ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey. Because ultimately, love begins with listening. Chapter 5. Forgiveness and letting go. Forgiveness. It's a word that carries immense weight, isn't it? For some, it evokes feelings of relief and liberation. For others, it stirs up resistance and pain. Yet, forgiveness is one of the most profound acts of healing we can offer, not only to others, but also to ourselves. In the context of family relationships where emotions run deep and histories are long, forgiveness becomes especially vital. Today we're going to explore why forgiveness matters, how it aligns with Buddhist teachings, and practical steps for letting go of resentment so that you can create space for love, peace, and growth. Let's start by asking a fundamental question. What is forgiveness really? At its core, forgiveness is the act of releasing anger, bitterness, or resentment towards someone who has wronged us. It doesn't mean excusing harmful behavior or pretending that the pain never happened. Instead, it's about choosing to free yourself from the emotional burden of holding on to grudges. In Buddhism, this concept aligns closely with the practice of upekkha, or equanimity, the ability to remain calm and balanced in the face of life's challenges. Equanimity reminds us that clinging to past hurts only perpetuates suffering. By letting go, we open ourselves to greater peace and clarity. Now let's be honest, forgiveness is hard, really hard. When someone close to us, whether it's a partner, parent, sibling or child, hurts us, the wound cuts deep, trust may be broken, feelings of betrayal, disappointment or injustice can linger for years. And even when we intellectually understand the benefits of forgiveness, our hearts often resist it. Why? Because forgiveness requires vulnerability. It demands that we confront painful memories, acknowledge our own wounds, and take responsibility for our role in the conflict. This process can feel daunting, even overwhelming. But here's the truth. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. Holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. The real victim of unforgiveness is always the one carrying the grudge. Chronic resentment chips away at your emotional well-being, leading to stress, anxiety, depression, and even physical health issues. It creates barriers between you and the people you love, preventing meaningful connection and mutual understanding. By contrast, forgiveness clears the path for healing, not just for you, but for your entire family. So, how do we begin the journey of forgiveness? One approach is to reframe what forgiveness means. Instead of seeing it as condoning bad behavior, view it as an act of self-care. You forgive not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve freedom from the weight of anger and bitterness. This shift in perspective makes forgiveness less intimidating and more empowering. Here's a practical exercise to help you get started. Find a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Bring to mind someone in your family whom you've struggled to forgive. Picture their face clearly. Now ask yourself 3 questions. What exactly am I holding on to? Be specific. Is it hurtful words they said, a betrayal of trust, neglect during a time when you needed support? Naming the source of your pain brings it into focus. How is holding on to this affecting me? Reflect on the toll it takes on your mental, emotional, and physical health. Does it keep you awake at night? Make you irritable around others? Drain your energy? Acknowledge the cost of carrying this burden. What would letting go feel like? Imagine setting down the weight of resentment. Visualize yourself walking lighter, freer, unburdened by the past. How does your body feel? What emotions arise? This visualization exercise helps you connect with the benefits of forgiveness on a visceral level. It primes your heart and mind for the work ahead. Another powerful tool for cultivating forgiveness is mindfulness meditation. During meditation, bring your attention to the present moment. Notice any sensations, thoughts, or emotions that arise related to the person you're struggling to forgive. Instead of pushing these experiences away, observe them with curiosity and compassion. Remind yourself that pain is part of the shared human experience. You're not alone in feeling hurt. Then silently repeat phrases like, "May I be free from anger. May I find peace. May I release the need to hold on to this pain." Once you feel grounded, extend these wishes toward the other person. May you be free from suffering. May you learn from your mistakes. May you grow in wisdom and kindness. This practice, known as metta, loving kindness, meditation, softens your heart and fosters empathy, even for those who have caused harm. Over time, it helps dissolve the walls of resentment that separate you. Buddhist teachings emphasize the impermanence of all things, including pain and conflict. Nothing lasts forever, not joy, not sorrow, not relationships themselves. Recognizing this truth allows us to approach forgiveness with a sense of perspective. Even the most painful moments will pass, if we allow them to. By embracing impermanence, we loosen our grip on the past and make room for new possibilities. To deepen your understanding of impermanence, try journaling about a difficult situation in your family. Write about how it felt at the time, the intensity of your emotions, the impact on your relationships, the lessons you learned. Then reflect on how far you've come since then. Chances are what once seemed unbearable now feels manageable or even irrelevant. This exercise reinforces the idea that suffering too is temporary. Of course, forgiveness doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that unfolds in stages. Psychologist Dr. Fred Luskin, founder of the Stanford Forgiveness Project, identifies 4 key steps. Acknowledge the harm done, admit to yourself that you were hurt. Suppressing or denying your pain only prolongs the healing process. Reframe the narrative. Shift your focus from victimhood, "they ruined my life," to empowerment, "I choose to move forward." Reframing gives you agency over your story. Communicate constructively. If appropriate, initiate a conversation with the person who hurt you. Use I statements to express your feelings without blaming or accusing. For example, say, "I felt hurt when," rather than, "You always commit to letting go." Decide that you no longer want to carry the burden of resentment. This step requires courage and determination, but ultimately sets you free. Each stage builds upon the last, creating a foundation for lasting change. Remember, forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. You can forgive someone without restoring the relationship if doing so would compromise your safety or well-being. Setting boundaries is an important part of healthy forgiveness. Let's also talk about self-forgiveness, a topic often overlooked in discussions about letting go. Many of us are harder on ourselves than we are on others. We replay past mistakes in our minds, berating ourselves for choices we wish we could undo. But beating yourself up doesn't serve anyone. Self-forgiveness involves acknowledging your humanity, accepting responsibility for your actions, and committing to growth, moving forward. To practice self-forgiveness, write a letter to yourself from the perspective of a compassionate friend. Address your pain honestly, offering words of comfort and encouragement. For example, you might write, "Dear your name, I know you made a mistake, but that doesn't define you. You're learning, growing, and doing your best. Please be kind to yourself." Seal the letter and read it whenever guilt or shame resurfaces. Finally, let's discuss the ripple effects of forgiveness on family dynamics. Families that prioritize forgiveness tend to thrive. They communicate more openly, resolve conflicts more effectively, and celebrate progress rather than perfection. Children raised in such environments develop resilience and emotional intelligence. Adults benefit too, experiencing deeper intimacy and reduced stress. Forgiveness becomes a cornerstone of the family identity, shaping how members relate to one another and navigate challenges together. As we wrap up this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Forgiveness isn't a destination, it's a journey. Some days you'll feel strong and ready to let go. Other days the pain will resurface, reminding you that healing is non-linear. That's okay. What matters most is showing up consistently with patience, compassion, and intention. Tonight before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one person in your family whom you've struggled to forgive. Ask yourself, what would it take for me to release this pain? Tomorrow, take one small step toward forgiveness. Maybe it's writing a letter, practicing metta meditation, or simply breathing through the discomfort. Watch how this act of letting go ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey. Because ultimately, forgiveness is the bridge that leads us back to love. Chapter 6. Setting Healthy Boundaries. Boundaries. The very word can evoke mixed feelings, can't it? For some, it conjures images of walls or barriers, things that separate us from others. For others, it feels like an unfamiliar concept, something they've never been taught to establish or respect. Yet, boundaries are not about creating distance, they're about fostering connection. They're the invisible lines we draw to protect our well-being, honor our values, and nurture healthy relationships. And when it comes to family, the people who often know us best and see us at our most vulnerable, setting boundaries becomes both essential and challenging. Today we're going to dive deep into the art of setting healthy boundaries within the context of family life. We'll explore why boundaries matter, how mindfulness and Buddhist principles guide us in this process, and practical strategies for communicating your limits with clarity and compassion. Because when we set boundaries, we don't just safeguard ourselves, we create space for love, trust, and mutual respect to flourish. Let's begin by defining what boundaries really are. At their core, boundaries are guidelines we set to communicate what is acceptable and unacceptable in our interactions with others. They encompass physical, emotional, mental, and even energetic spaces. For example, a physical boundary might involve saying no to unsolicited hugs. An emotional boundary might mean refusing to engage in conversations that leave you feeling drained or disrespected. A mental boundary could include limiting exposure to toxic opinions or behaviors. Despite their importance, many of us struggle to set boundaries, especially within families. Why? Because family relationships are deeply rooted in history, expectations, and unspoken rules. From childhood, we learn patterns of behavior that shape how we relate to others. Some of us grow up in environments where boundaries were non-existent, where expressing needs was seen as selfish or disrespectful. Others may come from families where boundaries were rigid and controlling, leaving little room for individuality or autonomy. These early experiences influence how comfortable or uncomfortable we feel asserting our limits as adults. But here's the truth. Boundaries are acts of self-respect, not selfishness. When you set a boundary, you affirm your worth and signal to others that your needs matter. In Buddhism, this aligns with the principle of right speech, one of the components of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right speech encourages us to communicate honestly, kindly, and constructively. It reminds us that words have power, and how we express ourselves shapes the quality of our relationships. By setting boundaries with care and intention, we uphold this teaching while fostering harmony at home. So, how do we begin establishing healthy boundaries? One key step is understanding your own needs. Before you can communicate your limits to others, you must first identify what they are. Take time to reflect on areas where you feel overwhelmed, resentful, or taken advantage of. Ask yourself, where do I feel stretched too thin today? What situations leave me feeling anxious, frustrated, or depleted? What values or priorities am I neglecting because of external pressures? For instance, Maybe you consistently put your partner's needs ahead of your own, leaving you feeling exhausted and unseen. Or perhaps a sibling repeatedly borrows money without repaying, causing financial strain. Identifying these pain points is the first step toward addressing them. Once you've clarified your boundaries, the next challenge is communicating them effectively. This requires courage, vulnerability, and empathy. Start by framing your request in terms of I statements rather than accusations. For example, instead of saying, "You always interrupt me," try, "I feel unheard when I'm interrupted, and I'd appreciate it if we could take turns speaking." Similarly, avoid using absolutes like never or always, which can trigger defensiveness. Timing and tone also play crucial roles in boundary setting. Choose a calm moment, not during a heated argument, to share your thoughts. Use a gentle, non-confrontational voice. Make eye contact and maintain open body language to convey sincerity. Remember, the goal isn't to win an argument, but to build understanding. Now, let's talk about the role of mindfulness in setting boundaries. Mindfulness trains us to tune into our emotions and recognize when our limits are being crossed. It helps us pause before reacting impulsively, giving us the clarity to respond thoughtfully. For example, imagine your teenager snaps at you after a long day. Instead of retaliating with anger, mindfulness allows you to notice your rising frustration and choose a different path. You might say, "I hear you're upset, but I need a few minutes to collect myself before we continue this conversation." This response honors both your need for space and their right to express themselves. One powerful mindfulness exercise for strengthening boundary awareness is the stop technique. S. Stop whatever you're doing. T. Take a few deep breaths. O. Observe your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations. Are you tense, overwhelmed, irritated? P. Proceed with intention. Ask yourself, what boundary do I need to set right now? This simple practice empowers you to navigate challenging moments with grace and composure. Buddhist teachings offer additional insights into the importance of boundaries. In Buddhism, the concept of non-attachment plays a central role. Non-attachment doesn't mean detaching from loved ones emotionally. It means releasing the need to control or cling to outcomes. By practicing non-attachment, we cultivate equanimity, a balanced state of mind that allows us to hold firm to our boundaries without becoming rigid or reactive. To illustrate this point, consider a scenario where a family member repeatedly disregards your requests. Your instinct might be to lash out in frustration or withdraw entirely, but through the lens of non-attachment, you can approach the situation differently. Instead of fixating on changing their behavior, focus on maintaining your own integrity. Say calmly, "I understand you may not agree with my boundary, but it's important to me. I hope we can find a way to coexist respectfully." This response demonstrates strength without aggression. Of course, setting boundaries isn't just about protecting yourself, it's also about respecting others' limits. Healthy relationships are built on reciprocity. Just as you expect others to honor your boundaries, you must be willing to acknowledge theirs. For example, if your partner asks for alone time after work, resist the urge to intrude unless invited. If your child expresses discomfort discussing certain topics, give them space to process privately. Mutual respect strengthens trust and fosters collaboration. Another aspect of boundary setting worth exploring is flexibility. While boundaries provide structure, they shouldn't become rigid constraints. Life is dynamic and relationships evolve over time. Be open to revisiting and adjusting your boundaries as circumstances change. For instance, a boundary that worked during one phase of your life may no longer serve you in another. Regularly check in with yourself and your loved ones to ensure that everyone's needs are being met. Let's also address a common misconception, that setting boundaries will damage relationships. Many people fear that asserting their limits will lead to conflict, rejection, or abandonment. While it's true that some individuals may initially resist your boundaries, especially if they're accustomed to having free rein, most will eventually adapt. Clear communication reduces ambiguity and prevents resentment from building up. Over time, boundaries enhance rather than hinder connection. To demonstrate this, consider a couple navigating household responsibilities. One partner feels burdened by cooking every night but hasn't voiced their frustration. Eventually, resentment builds, leading to arguments and distance. Now imagine the same scenario handled differently. The partner sets a boundary. Cooking every night is exhausting for me. Can we alternate nights or plan meals together? By articulating their need openly and respectfully, they invite collaboration rather than conflict. Finally, let's discuss the ripple effects of healthy boundaries on family dynamics. Families that prioritize boundaries tend to experience less tension, greater cooperation, and deeper intimacy. Children raised in such environments develop strong self-esteem and interpersonal skills. Adults benefit too, reporting higher levels of satisfaction in their relationships and reduced stress. Boundaries become a cornerstone of the family culture, shaping how members relate to one another and navigate challenges together. As we conclude this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a challenge. Over the next week, commit to identifying and asserting one boundary with a family member. Start small, perhaps asking for uninterrupted quiet time to recharge or requesting help with a task you've been shouldering alone. Pay attention to how the interaction unfolds. Did the other person respond positively? Did you feel more empowered afterward? What did you learn about yourself in the process? Remember, setting boundaries is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice. Each time you assert your limits with kindness and clarity, you reinforce your sense of self-worth and model healthy behavior for those around you. Boundaries remind us that love and respect go hand in hand, that honoring ourselves enables us to show up fully for others. Tonight, before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one area in your family life where you'd like to establish clearer boundaries. Tomorrow, take one small step toward implementing that boundary. Watch how this act of self-care ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey. Because ultimately, boundaries aren't barriers, they're bridges to healthier, happier relationships. Chapter 7. Cultivating Patience. Patience. It's a virtue we've all heard about, but how many of us truly understand its depth or practice it consistently? In our fast-paced, instant gratification world, patience feels almost counterintuitive. We're conditioned to expect quick results, immediate answers, and seamless experiences. Yet, when it comes to family relationships, the messy, imperfect, deeply human connections that define so much of our lives, patience becomes not just a nice-to-have quality, but an absolute necessity. Today we're going to explore the transformative power of patience within the context of family dynamics. We'll examine why patience matters, how mindfulness and Buddhist teachings can help us cultivate it, and practical strategies for nurturing this essential skill in everyday life. Because when we approach our loved ones with patience, we create space for growth, understanding, and unconditional love to flourish. Let's start by asking a simple yet profound question. What is patience really? At its core, patience is the ability to endure difficult circumstances without becoming frustrated, upset, or anxious. It's the capacity to wait calmly even when things don't go as planned. But patience isn't passive resignation, it's active presence. It requires effort, awareness, and compassion, not just for others, but also for ourselves. In Buddhism, patience, kshanti in Sanskrit, is considered one of the 6 perfections, paramitas, that lead to enlightenment. Kshanti teaches us to remain steady in the face of adversity, whether it's external challenges like conflicts or internal struggles like impatience or irritation. This form of patience isn't about suppressing emotions, it's about transforming them through wisdom and equanimity. When we embrace kshanti, we learn to see difficulties not as obstacles but as opportunities for growth. Now, here's the challenge. Cultivating patience is hard, really hard, especially in family settings where emotions run high and expectations are deeply ingrained. Have you ever found yourself snapping at your partner over something minor, like forgetting to take out the trash? or losing your temper with your child because they didn't finish their homework on time. These moments happen to all of us. They're part of being human. But what sets apart harmonious families from chaotic ones is how they respond to these inevitable frustrations. The first step in cultivating patience is recognizing its value, not just for others, but for yourself. Impatience often stems from unmet expectations. We expect our loved ones to behave a certain way, meet deadlines, or fulfill responsibilities flawlessly. When reality falls short of these ideals, we react with irritation or disappointment. But here's the truth. People aren't perfect, including us. By lowering our expectations and embracing imperfection, we reduce the friction that fuels impatience. One powerful tool for fostering patience is mindfulness. Mindfulness trains us to stay present in the moment, observing our thoughts and emotions without judgment. When we feel irritation rising, mindfulness allows us to pause before reacting impulsively. Instead of lashing out, we breathe deeply, notice the tension in our bodies, and remind ourselves that this moment will pass. Over time, this practice builds resilience, helping us navigate challenges with greater calm and clarity. Here's a practical exercise to strengthen your mindfulness muscle. Find a quiet spot where you won't be disturbed. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. As thoughts and emotions arise, observe them without attachment. Imagine them as clouds drifting across the sky. They come and go, but you remain steady and grounded. Now visualize a recent situation that tested your patience. Replay the scene in your mind, but this time imagine responding with calmness and kindness. How does it feel different? What outcomes might arise from this shift? Another key aspect of patience is empathy. Empathy involves putting yourself in someone else's shoes and trying to understand their perspective. Often impatience arises because we fail to see the bigger picture. For example, if your teenager seems distant or moody, it's easy to interpret their behavior as defiance. But what if you pause to consider the pressures they're facing, academic stress, social anxiety, hormonal changes? By approaching them with empathy, you create space for meaningful dialogue rather than conflict. To deepen your practice of empathy, try journaling about a recent interaction that triggered impatience. Write down what happened, how you felt, and how the other person responded. Then ask yourself, what might have been going on beneath the surface? What unspoken needs or fears could explain their actions? This reflective process helps you develop greater insight into the complexities of human behavior. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of compassion in cultivating patience. Compassion, karuna, is the heartfelt desire to alleviate suffering for ourselves and others. When we view difficult situations through the lens of compassion, we soften our hearts and expand our capacity for tolerance. For instance, if your partner snaps at you after a long day, instead of retaliating, you might say, "I can tell you're having a tough time. Is there anything I can do to help?" This response diffuses tension and fosters connection. To integrate compassion into your daily life, try practicing loving-kindness meditation, metta. During meditation, silently repeat phrases like, "May I be patient," "May I be kind," "May I find peace in challenging moments." Once you feel grounded, extend these wishes toward your loved ones. May you be patient. May you be kind. May you find peace in challenging moments. This practice softens your heart and helps you approach interactions with greater empathy and understanding. Of course, patience doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior. Healthy boundaries are still essential. If someone repeatedly disrespects your limits, it's important to address the issue directly, but with kindness and respect. For example, if your sibling consistently interrupts you during conversations, you might say, "I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I'd like to finish sharing my thoughts before we move on." This balanced approach ensures that patience remains constructive rather than enabling. Let's also talk about the role of gratitude in strengthening patience. Gratitude shifts our focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. When we feel grateful, our bodies release oxytocin and serotonin, hormones associated with happiness and bonding. This physiological response reduces stress and fosters positive emotions. To integrate gratitude into your daily life, keep a journal where you write down 3 things you're thankful for each day. Make sure to include specific details. For instance, instead of writing, "I'm grateful for my family," elaborate, "I'm grateful for the laughter my daughter brought to dinner tonight." Sharing your gratitude with loved ones amplifies its impact. Tell your partner, "Thank you for making coffee this morning. It started my day off right." Watch how these small expressions of appreciation brighten everyone's mood. Finally, let's discuss the ripple effects of patience on family dynamics. Families that prioritize patience tend to thrive. They communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts more constructively, and celebrate progress rather than perfection. Children raised in such environments develop strong emotional intelligence and self-regulation skills. Adults benefit too, experiencing deeper intimacy and reduced stress. Patience becomes a cornerstone of the family identity, shaping how members relate to one another and navigate challenges together. As we wrap up this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Patience isn't something you achieve overnight, it's a lifelong practice. Some days you'll feel calm and centered, ready to weather any storm. Other days, frustration will get the better of you, and that's okay. What matters most is showing up consistently with humility, curiosity, and intention. Tonight before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one area in your family life where you'd like to cultivate more patience. Maybe it's dealing with a partner's tardiness, managing a child's tantrums, or navigating disagreements with a sibling. Tomorrow, take one small step toward practicing patience in that area. Perhaps it's taking a deep breath before responding to a trigger or reminding yourself to lower your expectations. Watch how this act of presence ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey. Because ultimately, patience isn't just a skill, it's a gift we give to ourselves and those we love. Chapter 8. Finding joy in everyday moments. Joy. It's a word that evokes warmth, light, and the kind of happiness that feels expansive and free. Yet, for many of us, joy can feel elusive, like something we chase but rarely catch. We think it will come when we achieve a certain milestone, acquire a possession, or reach a destination. But what if joy isn't something we have to wait for? What if it's already here, woven into the fabric of our daily lives, if only we know how to see it? Today we're going to explore the art of finding joy in everyday moments within the context of family life. We'll delve into why joy matters, how mindfulness and Buddhist principles guide us toward recognizing and embracing it, and practical strategies for infusing your days with more laughter, gratitude, and presence. Because when we cultivate joy at home, we create an environment where love thrives, resilience grows, and connection deepens. Let's start by asking a fundamental question. What is joy really? At its core, joy is a state of being, not just a fleeting emotion tied to external circumstances. It's the quiet contentment you feel while sipping your morning coffee, the warmth of holding hands with someone you love, or the simple pleasure of hearing your child's laughter. Joy doesn't require grand gestures or extraordinary events. It exists in the ordinary, the mundane, and the overlooked. In Buddhism, this concept aligns closely with the practice of mudita, or sympathetic joy, the ability to delight in the happiness and success of others. Mudita reminds us that joy isn't a limited resource. It multiplies when shared. When we celebrate another person's triumphs, whether it's a partner landing a promotion, a sibling finishing a project, or a toddler taking their first steps, we amplify our own sense of well-being. Sympathetic joy transforms envy into celebration and scarcity into abundance. Now here's the challenge. Finding joy in everyday moments requires intentionality. In our fast-paced, distraction-filled world, it's easy to overlook the beauty around us. We rush through meals without savoring flavors, scroll through phones instead of engaging with loved ones, and focus on what's lacking rather than what's present. This constant striving blinds us to the joy that's already available. The first step in cultivating joy is shifting your mindset from scarcity to sufficiency. Scarcity tells us that life is never enough, that we need more money, more time, more achievements to be happy. Sufficiency, on the other hand, invites us to appreciate what we already have. To practice sufficiency, try keeping a joy journal. Each day, write down 3 small moments that brought you happiness. These could include anything from watching sunlight stream through the window to sharing a funny story with your kids. Over time, this habit trains your brain to notice and cherish the good things in life. Another powerful tool for finding joy is mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to fully inhabit the present moment, to taste the sweetness of a strawberry, feel the texture of a blanket, or listen to the melody of birdsong outside your window. When we engage all our senses, even the simplest activities become sources of delight. For example, consider the act of washing dishes. Instead of rushing through it as a chore, slow down. Notice the warmth of the water, the scent of soap, the rhythm of scrubbing. Suddenly, an ordinary task becomes meditative and satisfying. To deepen your mindfulness practice, try incorporating sensory awareness into your daily routine. Before eating a meal, pause and observe the colors, smells, and textures of your food. Take a bite slowly, savoring each flavor. As you walk outdoors, pay attention to the breeze against your skin, the crunch of leaves underfoot, or the way sunlight filters through trees. These small acts of presence awaken your capacity for joy. Buddhist teachings also emphasize the importance of equanimity, upekkha, in sustaining joy. Equanimity allows us to remain balanced in the face of life's ups and downs. Without equanimity, joy becomes fragile, a fleeting high that crumbles at the first sign of difficulty. By cultivating calmness and perspective, we ensure that joy endures even during challenging times. One way to nurture equanimity is through meditation. During meditation, bring your attention to your breath. As thoughts and emotions arise, observe them without attachment. Imagine yourself as the sky, vast and unchanging, while clouds of thought drift across it. This visualization fosters inner stability, making it easier to access joy regardless of external conditions. Of course, joy isn't just about solitary experiences, it's also about shared moments. Families provide endless opportunities for collective joy. Cooking together, playing games, telling stories, or simply sitting quietly side by side can create memories that last a lifetime. The key is to approach these activities with presence and intention. For instance, if you're baking cookies with your children, resist the urge to multitask or rush through the process. Instead, immerse yourself in the experience, the sticky dough, the giggles, the anticipation of warm treats fresh out of the oven. These shared joys strengthen bonds and foster a sense of belonging. Let's also talk about humor, an often overlooked source of joy. Laughter has a magical way of dissolving tension, bridging divides, and reminding us of our humanity, whether it's cracking jokes at the dinner table, sharing silly memes, or recounting embarrassing childhood stories. Humor brings families closer together. Don't be afraid to embrace lightheartedness, even during serious discussions. A well-timed joke can diffuse conflict and invite collaboration. To integrate humor into your family dynamics, designate regular playtime where everyone commits to letting loose. This could involve board games, karaoke nights, or impromptu dance parties. Encourage silliness and spontaneity, creating space for uninhibited fun. Remember, laughter is contagious. Once it starts, it spreads like wildfire, filling your home with warmth and joy. Another aspect of finding joy worth exploring is creativity. Creative expression, whether through art, music, writing, or cooking, taps into a deeper wellspring of satisfaction. When we create, we connect with our authentic selves and share pieces of who we are with others. For example, Painting a picture with your child, composing a song as a family, or decorating your living room together can spark joy and pride. To nurture creativity, set aside dedicated time for artistic endeavors. Provide materials like paints, clay, or musical instruments, and encourage everyone to experiment freely. Celebrate the process rather than the outcome, focusing on the joy of making rather than perfection. These creative rituals not only enrich your family culture, but also inspire lifelong passions. Finally, let's discuss the ripple effects of joy on family dynamics. Families that prioritize joy tend to experience less stress, greater cooperation, and deeper intimacy. Children raised in such environments develop strong emotional intelligence and resilience. Adults benefit too, reporting higher levels of relationship satisfaction and reduced anxiety. Joy becomes a cornerstone of the family identity, shaping how members relate to one another and navigate challenges together. As we conclude this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a challenge. Over the next week, commit to noticing and celebrating at least one joyful moment each day. Start small, perhaps marveling at the sunset, laughing at a funny meme, or enjoying a heartfelt conversation with a loved one. Reflect on how these moments impact your mood and relationships. Did they brighten your day? Did they strengthen your bond with others? What did you learn about the nature of joy in the process? Remember, joy isn't something you find, it's something you cultivate. Each time you choose to see beauty in the ordinary, laugh freely, or create together, you affirm life's richness and possibility. Joy reminds us that happiness isn't reserved for special occasions. It's woven into the very fabric of existence. Tonight before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one area in your family life where you'd like to infuse more joy. Tomorrow, take one small step toward making that happen. Maybe it's initiating a playful activity, expressing appreciation for a loved one, or simply pausing to savor a beautiful moment. Watch how this act of presence ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey, because ultimately, joy isn't just a feeling, it's a choice we make every day. Chapter 9, Teaching Children. Mindfulness. Children, they're bundles of energy, curiosity, and wonder. Their laughter can light up a room, their questions can spark profound reflections, and their presence reminds us to see the world with fresh eyes. Yet raising children in today's fast-paced, hyper-connected world comes with its own set of challenges. Stress, anxiety, and emotional overwhelm aren't just adult issues, they affect kids too. That's why teaching children mindfulness is one of the most valuable gifts we can give them. It equips them with tools to navigate life's ups and downs, fosters emotional resilience, and creates a foundation for lifelong well-being. Today we're going to explore how to introduce mindfulness to children, why it matters, and practical strategies for weaving mindfulness into your family's daily routine. We'll draw on Buddhist teachings, child psychology, and real-world examples to guide you through this transformative process. Because when we teach children mindfulness, we don't just help them, we enrich the entire family dynamic. Let's start by asking a fundamental question. What does mindfulness look like for children? At its core, mindfulness is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. For adults, this might involve sitting quietly in meditation or focusing on the breath. But for children, mindfulness needs to be playful, engaging, and age-appropriate. Kids are naturally curious and imaginative, so mindfulness practices should tap into these qualities rather than suppress them. In Buddhism, mindfulness is often taught as a way to cultivate awareness and compassion. These principles are equally relevant for children. By helping them become more aware of their thoughts, feelings, and actions, we empower them to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Similarly, by nurturing compassion both for themselves and others, we lay the groundwork for healthy relationships and emotional intelligence. Now here's the challenge. Introducing mindfulness to children requires patience and creativity. Unlike adults, kids aren't likely to sit still for extended periods. or engage in abstract discussions about consciousness. Instead, they thrive on interactive activities that feel like play. The good news is that mindfulness doesn't have to be complicated. It can be seamlessly integrated into everyday moments. One of the best ways to introduce mindfulness to children is through sensory-based activities. Young minds are naturally attuned to their senses, so exercises that encourage them to notice sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and textures are highly effective. For example, try a mindful eating exercise during snack time. Give each child a small piece of fruit, a grape, a slice of apple, or a raisin, and guide them step by step. Look at the fruit closely. What colors and shapes do you see? Smell it. Does it remind you of anything? Feel its texture. Is it smooth, bumpy, soft, or firm? Take a tiny bite. Chew slowly. What flavors do you notice? This simple activity teaches children to slow down and savor the moment while sharpening their observational skills. Over time, they'll begin applying this mindful approach to other areas of life, from brushing their teeth to playing outside. Another powerful tool for teaching mindfulness is storytelling. Stories captivate children's imaginations and provide relatable frameworks for understanding complex ideas. You can share tales inspired by Buddhist parables or create your own narratives about characters who practice mindfulness. For instance, imagine telling a story about a young elephant named Ellie who learns to calm her racing thoughts by listening to the rhythm of her heartbeat. Or perhaps a tale about a squirrel who notices the beauty of autumn leaves instead of worrying about winter. These stories plant seeds of mindfulness in a way that feels magical and accessible. To make storytelling even more impactful, involve your children in creating their own mindful stories. Ask them questions like, what would happen if a butterfly took a deep breath before flying? Or, how could a flower teach us to stay rooted during a storm? Encouraging creativity not only reinforces mindfulness, but also strengthens their problem-solving skills and self-expression. Breathing exercises are another cornerstone of mindfulness for children. Deep breathing calms the nervous system, reduces stress, and improves focus, all essential benefits for growing minds. To make breathing fun, use props or imagery. For example, blow bubbles. Have your child take a deep breath and blow slowly to create big, beautiful bubbles. This teaches controlled exhalation while doubling as a delightful activity. Pretend to be a balloon. Inhale deeply and imagine filling up like a balloon. Hold the breath briefly, then exhale slowly, pretending the air is escaping. Repeat several times. Use stuffed animals. Place a favorite toy on the child's belly and ask them to rock the animal to sleep by breathing deeply in and out. Watching the rise and fall of the toy helps them connect with their breath. These playful techniques turn what could otherwise feel like a chore into an enjoyable experience. And because kids love repetition, incorporating breathing exercises into bedtime routines or transitions between activities ensures consistency. Mindful movement is another excellent way to engage children physically while cultivating awareness. Yoga, Tai Chi, or simple stretching exercises allow kids to explore their bodies in a non-competitive environment. Animal-themed yoga poses are particularly popular among younger children. For example, Cobra Pose. Lie on your belly and lift your chest, imagining you're a snake, hissing softly. Tree Pose. Stand tall like a tree, balancing on one leg while placing the other foot gently against your ankle or calf. Butterfly. Pose. Sit with the soles of your feet touching and flap your legs like butterfly wings. Pairing these poses with imaginative storytelling, pretend you're a mountain standing strong, adds an extra layer of engagement. Not only does mindful movement promote physical health, but it also enhances concentration and relaxation. Of course, teaching mindfulness isn't just about structured activities, it's also about modeling mindful behavior. Children learn by watching the adults in their lives, so demonstrating mindfulness in your own actions sets a powerful example. For instance, if you're feeling frustrated, verbalize your process of calming down. I'm feeling upset right now, so I'm going to take 3 deep breaths to reset. By normalizing mindfulness as part of everyday life, you show your children that it's okay to pause, reflect, and care for themselves. Buddhist teachings offer additional insights into fostering mindfulness in children. One key concept is metta, or loving-kindness meditation. Metta encourages children to develop empathy and compassion by wishing happiness for themselves and others. Start by guiding them through phrases like, "May I be happy," "May my family be safe," "May my friends feel loved." For younger children, simplify the language. "I wish everyone to be happy and kind." Over time, metta meditation helps kids expand their circle of concern beyond themselves, promoting inclusivity and kindness. Another Buddhist principle worth exploring is impermanence, anicca. While the idea of change may seem abstract to young minds, framing it in concrete terms makes it relatable. For example, talk about how seasons change, flowers bloom and wilt, or clouds drift across the sky. Then extend this understanding to emotions. Just like the weather changes, our feelings come and go too. When you're sad, remember that it won't last forever. Teaching children to embrace impermanence builds resilience and reduces fear of uncertainty. Let's also discuss the role of gratitude in reinforcing mindfulness. Gratitude shifts attention away from what's lacking and toward what's abundant. For children, this practice can take many forms, such as keeping a gratitude jar, where family members write down things they're thankful for each day. Alternatively, incorporate gratitude into mealtime conversations. What was the best part of your day? Or who made you smile today? These rituals instill a sense of appreciation and positivity that carries into adulthood. Finally, let's address a common misconception, that mindfulness eliminates challenges. While mindfulness equips children with tools to manage stress and regulate emotions, it doesn't shield them from difficulties. Conflict, disappointment, and frustration are inevitable parts of growing up. However, mindfulness provides a framework for navigating these experiences with greater clarity and grace. As we wrap up this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Teaching children mindfulness isn't about perfection, it's about planting seeds. Some days they'll embrace the practices enthusiastically, other days they'll resist or forget entirely. That's okay. What matters most is showing up consistently, with warmth, creativity, and intention. Tonight before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one mindful activity you'd like to introduce to your children tomorrow. Maybe it's a breathing exercise, a short meditation, or a gratitude ritual. Observe how they respond and adjust accordingly. Watch how these small acts of presence ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey. Because ultimately, mindfulness isn't just a skill, it's a gift that keeps giving, shaping not only your children's lives, but yours as well. Chapter 10. Creating a daily practice for lasting change. Change, it's something we all seek, yet it often feels elusive. We dream of healthier habits, stronger relationships, and greater peace of mind, but turning those dreams into reality requires more than good intentions. It demands consistency, commitment, and a willingness to embrace the small, incremental steps that lead to lasting transformation. Today we're going to explore how to create a daily practice that supports your journey toward mindfulness, compassion, and connection within your family. Because when you invest in consistent routines, you don't just change yourself, you transform the entire ecosystem of your home. Let's start by asking a fundamental question. What does a daily practice really mean? At its core, a daily practice is any intentional activity you engage in regularly to nurture your well-being or deepen your understanding. It could be as simple as taking 3 deep breaths each morning, or as structured as setting aside 20 minutes for meditation. The key is that it becomes a non-negotiable part of your day, a sacred space where you show up fully for yourself and, by extension, for your loved ones. In Buddhism, this concept aligns closely with the idea of sila, or ethical discipline, the foundation upon which all spiritual growth rests. Sila isn't about rigid rules or punishment, it's about cultivating wholesome habits that promote harmony and happiness. When you commit to a daily practice, you honor Sila by creating conditions that support kindness, patience, and presence. These qualities ripple outward, influencing every interaction you have with your family. Now, here's the challenge. Establishing a daily practice isn't always easy. Life gets busy, responsibilities pile up, distractions abound. Many people start with enthusiasm but struggle to maintain momentum over time. Why does this happen? Often it's because their goals are too ambitious or disconnected from their real needs. They try to meditate for an hour when 5 minutes would suffice, or they adopt practices that feel forced rather than joyful. The result? Frustration and burnout. The solution lies in starting small and staying flexible. A sustainable daily practice doesn't require hours of effort. It thrives on simplicity and adaptability. Think of it like planting a garden. You wouldn't expect flowers to bloom overnight. Instead, you water the soil, pull weeds, and trust the process. Similarly, your daily practice grows through tiny, consistent actions that accumulate over time. One of the most accessible ways to begin is by incorporating mindfulness into existing routines. For example, instead of rushing through your morning coffee, pause to savor the aroma, the warmth of the mug, and the first sip. This moment of awareness sets a tone of presence for the rest of your day. Or, while brushing your teeth, bring your attention to the sensations, the bristles against your gums, the minty freshness of the toothpaste. These micro practices anchor you in the present and make mindfulness feel natural rather than burdensome. Another powerful tool for building a daily practice is ritualizing transitions. Transitions, the moments between activities, are often overlooked but rich with potential. For instance, before leaving the house, take 3 deep breaths and silently repeat a phrase like, "May I meet everyone today with kindness." When returning home, pause at the door, set down your bag, and breathe deeply again, inviting calmness into your space. These rituals signal shifts in focus and help you approach each new situation with intention. Meditation is another cornerstone of a mindful daily practice, but it doesn't have to look like sitting cross-legged on a cushion for extended periods. If traditional meditation feels daunting, experiment with shorter sessions. Start with 2 or 3 minutes and gradually increase as you build comfort. Use guided meditations if they resonate with you, or simply focus on your breath. Over time, even brief meditations can yield profound benefits, including reduced stress, improved concentration, and enhanced emotional regulation. To make meditation more appealing to families, consider turning it into a shared activity. Set aside a specific time each day, perhaps after dinner or before bed, for everyone to sit quietly together. Younger children might enjoy lying down and imagining their bodies becoming heavy like sandbags, while older kids can try focusing on their breath or visualizing a peaceful scene. Even if the session lasts only 5 minutes, the collective energy creates a sense of unity and calm. Journaling is another versatile practice that complements mindfulness beautifully. Writing allows you to process emotions, clarify thoughts, and celebrate progress. Each evening, spend 5 minutes jotting down reflections. What went well today? What challenged me, and how did I respond? Who am I grateful for, and why? Encourage your family members to join in, either individually or collaboratively. For instance, keep a shared gratitude journal where everyone contributes entries throughout the week. Reviewing these notes together fosters appreciation and strengthens bonds. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of right effort, sama vayama, in sustaining a daily practice. Right effort involves cultivating wholesome qualities while letting go of unwholesome ones. In practical terms, this means identifying behaviors or thought patterns that no longer serve you and replacing them with healthier alternatives. For example, if you notice yourself snapping at your partner out of frustration, acknowledge the impulse without judgment and choose a different response, such as pausing to breathe deeply before speaking. Over time, these small adjustments reshape your habits and mindset. Of course, Maintaining a daily practice requires accountability. Accountability doesn't mean policing yourself or others. It means creating structures that support consistency. One effective strategy is pairing your practice with external cues. For instance, meditate immediately after waking up or write in your journal right before bed. Linking your practice to established routines minimizes decision fatigue and makes it easier to stick with over time. Another way to stay accountable is by enlisting support. Share your goals with a trusted friend or family member who can encourage you along the way. Better yet, invite them to join you in your practice. Practicing mindfulness alongside someone else not only boosts motivation, but also deepens connection. Imagine meditating side by side with your partner or taking mindful walks together as a family. These shared experiences become cherished memories that reinforce your commitment. Let's also talk about flexibility, an essential ingredient for long-term success. A rigid approach can backfire, leading to guilt or abandonment when life inevitably throws curveballs. Instead, adopt a mindset of gentleness and adaptability. If you miss a day of meditation, don't berate yourself, simply resume the next day. If a particular practice stops resonating, swap it out for something new. Remember, the goal isn't perfection, it's progress. To illustrate this point, consider the analogy of a river. Water flows effortlessly around obstacles, finding its path without resistance. Your daily practice should mirror this fluidity, adapting to changing circumstances while remaining aligned with your intentions. Some days, your practice might involve formal meditation. Other days, it could be as simple as noticing the beauty of a sunset or offering a kind word to a stranger. Both contribute equally to your growth. Finally, let's discuss the ripple effects of a daily practice on family dynamics. Families that prioritize mindfulness and self-care tend to thrive. They communicate more openly, resolve conflicts more constructively, and celebrate progress rather than perfection. Children raised in such environments develop strong emotional intelligence and resilience. Adults benefit too, reporting higher levels of relationship satisfaction and reduced stress. A daily practice becomes a cornerstone of the family identity, shaping how members relate to one another and navigate challenges together. As we conclude this chapter, I'd like to leave you with a final thought. Creating a daily practice isn't about adding more tasks to your already full plate. It's about transforming the way you approach life itself. By showing up consistently with curiosity, compassion, and courage, you create ripples of positive change that extend far beyond your immediate circle. Tonight before bed, take a few moments to reflect on today's discussion. Think about one small step you can take tomorrow to establish or deepen your daily practice. Maybe it's setting a timer for 5 minutes of meditation, writing down 3 things you're grateful for, or simply pausing to breathe deeply before meals. Whatever it is, commit to doing it with full presence and intention. Watch how this act of dedication ripples outward, strengthening your bond and enriching your shared journey. Because ultimately, a daily practice isn't just for you, it's for everyone whose lives you touch. And so, we come to the end of our journey together, a journey that has taken us deep into the heart of family life, mindfulness, and the transformative power of Buddhist principles. As I sit here reflecting on everything we've explored, I'm filled with a profound sense of gratitude for you, for your willingness to show up, and for the courage it takes to embark on this path of growth and connection. Let's take a moment to pause and breathe together. Just as we began, inhale deeply, hold it, and exhale slowly. Feel the stillness in this space, the quiet acknowledgement of all you've absorbed today. Whether you're walking away with one new insight or 10 practical tools, know that every step you take toward treating your family well is a step toward greater peace, not just for them, but for yourself. Throughout these chapters, we've talked about the importance of presence, patience, gratitude, forgiveness, and boundaries. We've explored how mindfulness can soften the edges of stress and conflict, creating room for love and understanding expanding to flourish. And we've seen how small, consistent actions, like active listening, setting healthy limits, or cultivating joy, can ripple outward, transforming not only individual relationships but entire households. But let me remind you of something crucial. None of this requires perfection. Life is messy, unpredictable, and beautifully imperfect, and so are we. The goal isn't to become flawless practitioners of mindfulness or meditation. It's to keep showing up again and again with an open heart and a curious mind. Some days will feel easier than others, and that's okay. What matters most is the effort, the intention behind each breath, each word, each moment of connection. I want to leave you with a story, a simple yet powerful reminder of why this work matters. A few years ago, I was visiting my grandmother, who had always been a pillar of strength and wisdom in our family. She was sitting by the window, knitting a scarf, when she looked up at me and said, "You know, relationships are like threads in fabric. Sometimes they fray, sometimes they tangle, but if you care for them with patience and love, they'll hold strong through anything." Her words stayed with me long after that visit ended. They reminded me that families aren't built overnight. They're woven together over time, stitch by stitch, through acts of kindness, forgiveness, and presence. Every choice you make to listen deeply, to set a boundary, to express gratitude, is another thread in that tapestry. Together, these threads create something resilient, beautiful, and enduring. As you move forward, I encourage you to carry this spirit of mindfulness into your daily life. Start small. Maybe it's taking 3 conscious breaths before responding to a challenging situation. Maybe it's pausing to notice the laughter of your child or the warmth of your partner's hand in yours. These moments may seem ordinary, but they are where the magic happens. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. The Mindful Zone is here to support you every step of the way. If today's video resonated with you, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with others who might benefit. By spreading these ideas, you contribute to a ripple effect of compassion and connection that extends far beyond your home. Before we part ways, I'd like to invite you to do one final exercise. Close your eyes or soften your gaze and bring to mind someone in your family. Picture their face, their voice, the unique qualities that make them who they are. Now silently offer them this wish: may you be happy, may you be safe, may you be at peace. Let those words settle in your heart, knowing that even this simple act of loving kindness strengthens your bond. Thank you for being here today, for investing in yourself, your loved ones, and the collective well-being of those around you. My hope is that you leave this space feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to embrace the beauty of mindful living. Until next time, may your days be filled with presence, joy, and boundless compassion. Take care. Namaste.